Yeah, Ekwan, this is Robo the Rebel back with another video. Today's video, going to take a look at Dr. Umar Johnson speaking about African polygyny and contrast it with what we know from Muslims, Muslim polygyny, Islamic polygyny. And since you're here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get to it.
I was in control, this is how polygamy would work. There would be a maximum of 4 wives. I only want 2. I don't see how you could do more than that. But maximum of 4. Brother got 1 wife. He's in Newport News. He got 1 wife. He's in Hampton. He got a wife.
Okay, let me stop right here. Actually, you could tell that he grew up, and he said it. He grew up as a Muslim, so he got the maximum of 4 wives from Islam. Obviously, that Islam put limits on the number of wives a man can have, and put parameters around polygyny where there weren't any before, so forth. But he got that from Islam. He did grow up as Muslim. He did state that he's no longer Muslim. He practices an African-centered religion, but he got the maximum of 4 from Islam, and he says he don't know how brothers could want 4 wives. He only wants 2, and so forth. And I think in some other place he said, wives or women in terms of wife are like headaches. So if you can deal with 2 headaches, then have 2 wives. If you want more headaches than that, then get more wives. But let's keep going.
Wants another wife. Can he just go get another wife? No. He has to apply to the council of elders in the community.
Okay, now Islam doesn't put this type of parameter on if a Muslim man can go get another wife, that he has applied to the council of elders. A Muslim man can take another wife. He doesn't have to have the permission of the first wife even. So I want to put that in context. But it appears that what he's seen, and he's stated these things before in other videos, that as growing up as Muslim, he saw some of the problems that the way the Muslims in Philadelphia, he grew up in Philadelphia, the ways that some of the Muslim men entered into polygyny in a way that harmed the women, and may in some cases have even been haram. So I think this is what framed his mindset around putting some type of parameters and checks and balances around what Muslim men can, or excuse me, what men can do, because he's not speaking about Muslim men, I apologize, but he's talking about polygyny from in the African community, or black community, or African American community, putting some parameters around what the man can do. So he says the man has to apply to a council of elders that would obviously decide whether or not he's fit to take on another wife. Now, I've seen in some cases, and I've heard some imams do this from an Islamic perspective, that hey, you can't just in terms of you can, but they won't marry you. In terms of some imams say, and some messages say, all right, we're not going to marry you to another woman unless you go through a particular process that we approve of, and checking these things, so that you don't that the man doesn't put the women involved at risk. He doesn't put the kids at risk, but he does it in a way that is that's halal and is going to benefit the people involved. So let's keep going.
He fills out paperwork saying he wants another wife. They're going to check his finances. They're going to check his health. They're going to have an interview with his first wife to see whether or not he's taking care of business. They're going to talk to his children, make sure he ain't creeping around, make sure he ain't a domestic abuser. They're going to do a whole investigation. And if they decide that he gets another wife, he can't have another woman from the A-list, because his first wife is from the A-list. Now, who's on the A-list, ladies? These are single women, no children, never been married, okay? May never been touched. They got it going on. They got the Kelly Rowland body at the Super Bowl halftime. They got all that, right? They on the A-list. So for your second wife, she can't be on the A-list. Why? Because polygamy is supposed to benefit all the women, right? Which means every woman should have an equal chance of getting married, whether she's gorgeous with no kids or a divorced wife with 5 children. Whether she got a doctorate or whether she living in the projects. If polygamy is about the women, they should all have an equal chance to get married, not just the attractive women. So your second wife got to come from the B list. Now, who the B list women? These are sisters who are still attractive, well educated, but they may have been divorced, or they have a couple of children. So your second wife comes from that list because we got to make sure we spread y'all out so the women benefit. So then you say you want a third.
Okay, let me stop here. So this is a good ranking system here because this is actually what happens. Some people might not want to admit that human beings rank each other based on certain things. Men typically rank women based on their beauty, attractiveness, their age, their fitness. Women typically on the man's resources, the ability to protect them. The bigger, stronger men are more attractive to women, and so forth. They've released studies to where it depends when a woman is ovulating, she will be attracted to the man with a more broad chin than when she's not ovulating, and they are more attracted to more masculine men as opposed to feminine men. But all that's changed since birth control, but that's a video for another day, meaning the birth control will disrupt the normal ovulation cycle of a woman, so that when she's on birth control, she'll be more attracted to feminine men. So this is why we see a lot of this now where women are attracted to feminine men. But I don't want to digress too far. But the point here is that the first 2 tiers of women, that's a very good ranking system. And like I said again, he's looking towards something that will benefit the women in the situation. Now, Islamic polygyny is supposed to benefit the women. Allah created a system that would only benefit the women, but it's the human beings who corrupt that system or make that system to where it does not benefit. When brothers take on another Muslim wife and they can't afford it, and then that Muslim wife goes on to public assistance, food stamps and welfare and WIC and so forth. I've seen this through my time being Muslim, to where a brother can't afford to take on a wife because it's very expensive to pay all of the necessities and so forth of a wife. The black community, it's very difficult to practice in an Islamic framework, to where very few men have the resources and the ability to take care of women 100% of their necessities and all of the children that come out of those marriages. It's very few and far between that in the black community that brothers have the resources to do that. So in this case, what Dr. Umar is saying here, they still want to have some checks and balances, even in the framework that he's speaking about, that the brothers can actually take care of the women. Once another wife, he can actually take care of the first wife and the second wife. Now he's moving up to the third wife, and here we will encounter some problems. And let's go ahead with the video.
Third wife. You go back to the elders and they investigate from the first 2 wives and everything gets checked out. They say you can have a third wife. She coming from what list? C list, which means what? Be the hell careful. Now, C list women are what? Okay? These are sisters who might can't have children, may have permanent diseases. Okay? These are women who might got more than 5 children. They might be a little bit older. Okay? These are women who, some brothers might say she got some baggage. Well, you want a third wife, you got to get a wife with some baggage. Okay? Now, brother.
Okay, so that's where the problem comes in. So he said polygyny is supposed to benefit the women, but yet now he's moved to the third tier, the C list, where women may have you're a little bit older, have more children, 5 children, what have you, may have some disease that is incurable, which is what he stated. Now that's where the problem comes in. So you have to get a woman who has some incurable disease. Now, your first two wives don't have that disease, so then you could that could potentially be a you could potentially be a spreader of that disease amongst your other wives. That's a problem. So that doesn't benefit the women in this situation. So that contradicts what he actually is saying here, and we'll see that it actually gets worse. So the C tier, and it's unfortunately, but these things are the way they are. If someone has a incurable sexually transmitted disease, then the only spouses for them are other people who have those that have that same condition, because you couldn't likely spread it. Could you likely spread something else and be susceptible to something else? Yes, but um, you know could you use contraceptives to protect the man and the woman? Yes, you could do that as well, but that's something that should be addressed up front. If you're going to get married to someone, obviously you should have all of the battery of testing for sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, AIDS, gonorrhea, syphilis, herpes, whatever. All those things should be up front, so going in, hey, I have this condition, et cetera, et cetera. And these things should be done before people get married. If they're not being done in a particular, in some masjids here, it should be done. And not necessarily a council of elders do it, but an imam should sign off. Hey, I'm not signing off on a marriage unless these particular things are done. Or as a wali, if you are a wali or wakil, you absolutely should do this to protect your daughters or whichever women are placed in your trust. So he's going to go to the D list here, and we'll keep going with the video.
Brothers is looking at me like, damn, hold on, Umar. So then you say you want a fourth wife. Guess where she coming from? The D list. You know what the D list means? Dangerous as hell. She probably killed a couple brothers. She been in jail 2-3 times. She got 4 or 5 strikes. Okay? She one of them sisters who will get out in the street and rumble with you if you make her mad. Okay? She from the D list. But my point is, ladies, if you organize the polygamous arrangement correctly, brothers will be less willing to have multiple wives, because in an African matriarchal polygamous structure, the first wife helps to choose the second. And the first and second help to choose the third. So fellas, you got to understand from an African framework that your second wife has to be compatible for you and your first wife.
Well, let me stop it here. So now this is a problem. We already have a problem with this in the black community, being a matriarchy. And this is one of the issues that we have. No other group of human beings that are successful has a matriarchy. And he's advocating for a matriarchy in terms of polygyny, and that's a problem already in our community. We already have a matriarchy, meaning to where the women in our community basically go unchallenged. They can't be, as a whole group, not individually, as a whole group. And we've seen sisters like Shah Zahar Ali say this for 30 years or more, actually, about how the black woman, the black American woman, is a bit of a problem, that you can't tell her anything. So advocating for more of a matriarchy is a problem. But then let's go to look at the D list. That's absolutely 100% a problem. She may have killed a couple brothers. I mean, what Muslim man, or what man period, would want to marry that type of woman? He didn't say anything about any type of counseling, any type of psychological what have you, but who wants to bring that type of fitna into your home or your marriage, that she may have killed? She may fight with you. You don't even want a woman that's not that doesn't submit to you, let alone that will get out and fight with you or have maybe killed some brothers. And I understand that you want every woman to get married, but that's just not going to happen. So in this framework, in theory it sounds good, but in reality this practice would not work. There's going to be some sisters who are not going to get married, and it's going to be because of some of the things that they may have encountered. I know some brothers have problems with men judging women's past, or not necessarily judging, but maybe not wanting to marry women based on their past. But if a woman has had many sexual partners in the past, or if she's been to jail, or whatever it is that Dr. Umar is saying here for the D list, those are women that may not be suitable for marriage. Especially if you have a functioning family of 3 women and several children already. You don't want to bring that type of fitna into your home. So let's finish up the video and see what else he's going to say here.
You just don't bring home a woman and say, here's your co-wife. It don't work that way. Because in an African matriarchal system, as one sister said in London, she put it so beautifully. She said, I'm looking for another wife for my husband. But she said in order for her to be the next wife, and I'm paraphrasing, she said, she has to love me more than she loves him. Y'all see that? Because polygamy is about sisterhood. And the reason why polygamy would not work, which is why we cannot practice it right now until we do a lot of psychological reconstruction, is because black women can't stand black women. It ain't because of the men. It's because of the sisters. Could you imagine what would happen if one sister had 2 children and another sister had 2 children, and whenever they came together, her 2 children preferred to be with that mother instead of their own?
That's a very good point, that sometimes some sisters are more motherly than other sisters, and children may prefer that, but it has to be a collective. Even one imam stated that the children shouldn't go back and forth, and and this would be one of the reasons why that he might have said that, but I'm not sure if that was just his own opinion or if he had some proofs to substantiate that claim. But I can get it, but that's a very good point there. But the Muslim man doesn't have to have the woman's permission to take another wife. They don't even have to be friends necessarily. They don't have to be friends. Would it be great if they actually got along and not fight? Absolutely, I would imagine in this type of situation that the women got along as opposed to not getting along and they were fighting or what have you. That's just would be a headache. So let's see what else he says here.
Because she was more maternal, more nurturing, more loving. So it's the competition amongst black women that makes it so less desirable. But fellas, let's be honest. We ain't ready for it either. We got some stuff we got to do because slavery has taught us to sexually objectify the black woman's body. So when we see a black woman, we don't see a queen, we see boobs, we see breasts, we see hips. That's what slavery did to us. So we have to de-objectify the black woman's body. Like people often say, like the children in school, they say, Dr. Umar, in Africa, do the women walk around with their breasts out? I say, yeah, some places they do. Most places they cover it up. They say, well, ain't that kind of nasty? Ain't that? I said, no, because the breasts are not for sex. Breasts are for feeding children. But the European objectify the black woman's whole body. And so now the breasts are now sexual. When before, breast was about life. Okay? The buttocks was never sexual, but it is now. So you have to look at the perversion that has taken place amongst us as a result of slavery. Okay? And then, for the fellas,
yeah, that's the end of the video. But Islam solves the issue that he was talking about, that men sexually objectify the woman's body. Even in cultures where he stated, one of his students asked if in Africa do the women walk around uncovered with their breasts exposed. He said in some places they do, most of them are covered up. But in Islam, when you come to Islam, the woman has to be covered. So you can't sexually objectify her body. So that removes that argument if he would revert to that framework in terms of the women. And he stated something also. He did state something about the psychological issues that the trauma that the Black American community has. We do have a lot of that going on in our community, and he stated that black women don't like black women. I'm surprised to hear him say that, because typically he doesn't hold black women accountable And sure, hold black men accountable. It's no problem. It's no problem there. Black men have made strides in the past 30 years to improve their condition in terms of incarceration, in terms of going to college, in terms of having babies and having babies out of wedlock, and even the marriages are up for black men. So, black men have made some strides. So continue to speak to black men and suggest things or what have you. But I was surprised to hear that he spoke on black women. But this is the end of the video, and I think the what in good faith his what he's talking about is to try to help uh, black women get married and to benefit the whole community with being married and having a protector and so forth. But I know he went a little extreme, and to be a little funny and tongue in cheek with uh, describing the different tiers of women. But the last two tiers were problematic. Some of those women will not, unfortunately, this is going to happen. Some people are not going to get married, and those things are problems. So let me know what you think about the video. Think about Dr. Umar's comments. Think about African-centered polygyny versus Islamic polygyny in the comments. Like and share the video and subscribe to the channel. Masalama Ikwan.